Now, Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, located on the South Shore, and I have been working as a full-time realtor and sales and marketing consultant for home buyers and home sellers for the past 15 years. My unique approach to assisting my clients to the next chapter of their lives is driven by being a team player and by offering them continuous training, education, advising, and mentoring. Every week, I will be providing you with real estate topics ranging from home buyer and home seller advice, legal matters, insurance binders, flood insurance concerns, home inspection questions, environmental worries like radon, lead paint, and mold, mortgages and loan programs, staging tips and ideas, real estate contracts, market trends, home values, and more. It's a talk radio show, and you can follow along online. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. If you missed any of our shows, you can listen on my podcast at talkrealestateradio.com. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me regarding your home sale or your home purchase, you can connect with me anytime at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. This is Sharon McNamara, and you're listening to Real Estate with the McNamara Broker team. Here we are.
Sorry, I don't know why I just had to repeat that for a second.
No, that's okay.
I couldn't hear myself. I couldn't hear myself think.
Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. We have Mary Baker in the house tonight.
Woo-hoo.
Hello.
I'm going to give myself a cheer.
Yeah, we have Melissa Wallace, who is putting our stuff together right now. So she is getting us live on Facebook right now. So we should be up and running pretty soon. And we also have Dustin Hughes is joining us from Boston.
His background is a little more fun.
Yeah, I know.
Well, before he sat down, he had this nice sign that somebody must have got. Maybe you guys got it. Wine bar.
Yeah. You know what? Can I see that? I think I know what the problem is, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyways, so tonight, Mary Baker, do you want to let everybody know what we're thinking about doing? And here's the thing, Ben, you know we're only on until 7 tonight. I think there's something going on at WETD, so they are stopping us tonight at 7. So we have a short show. A short show, but that's okay. Hey, we want to get out early on a Tuesday night and, live it up.
Good. That just means you get to condense all the fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mary, why don't you tell everybody what our thoughts were?
So this was kind of impromptu, which is, I feel like, how the Real Estate Roundtable is going anyways, as of recently. And we were all sitting around last night, and we have been talking about multiple offers for several weeks now, one of which we just put a listing on the market. But we talked about it a little bit last week. We put a listing on the market last Monday and started to talk about multiple offers, offer deadlines, and expectations. So we thought it would be kind of fun and interesting to go into a kind of do's and don'ts when putting in multiple offers, or when putting in an offer, when searching for a house, and when you're under contract with the house.
Yeah, because, one of the things that came up, we were really, really sad for a lot of the buyers that were out there, putting in offers. So Dustin, why don't you give everybody an update on how everything worked out? So our listeners last week, just to fill you in again, it was 68 Beechwood was the property that we were talking about. So
in Hanson. And funny enough, as we're sitting here, I just got a Zillow call.
Oh, really?
And for 68 Beechwood. Sorry, guys.
We ended up, we didn't do an open house. We left it open for appointments Monday through Saturday. We ended up with 130 showings. From that, we presented to our seller 24 offers, which has been a roller coaster, to say the least.
That was real trial by, what did you call it? Baptism by fire?
Baptism by fire.
I have a nice picture of Dustin yesterday, just like exhausted at the end of the day, 8 o'clock at night, just laying on our basement floor being like, can't do this. Because it's tedious. It's a lot of work, and especially with the, and we talk about all the different things to be considering when you're reviewing offers. We go heavily into all of these offers. And when I say we, I mean Melissa and Dustin in this scenario. And then they put together the spreadsheet that I think we've done multiple shows on, where we have done a Zoom and show everybody what our spreadsheets look like and how we break all of the different categories for multiple offers down. So there's just a lot to be considered, right? And I know what you're going to say.
Okay, then go ahead.
No,
read my mind.
Say it. Was it Lisa DeMilo?
Yep. Go ahead, Mary. Go. All right, we have Lisa DeMilo with the WATD Traffic Center standing by. Lisa, how's it looking out there?
Well, hello, Mary. Long time no talk. The expressway southbound stop and go from the tunnel down to Columbia Road. It breaks free for a bit, but you hit the brakes again from the Freeport Street on-ramp down to Bryant Ave. Northbound's a 10-minute drive from Braintree up to Boston. Route 3 South is tied up from the expressway down towards Union Street. And Route 24 South is a 16-minute ride from 93 to 495. This report is sponsored by Big Y Foods. Summer means barbecues, picnics, and Big Y's just like Mom's Deli salads. Home-style potato, egg, and potato macaroni or coleslaw made with only the finest ingredients and only at Big Y. Traffic on the 9s every morning. I'm Lisa DeMilo in the WATD Traffic Center.
We now return to Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services on 95.9 WATD.
And we're back. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable with Boston Connect Real Estate's broker team. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I'm here with my team members, Mary Baker, Sharon McNamara, and Dustin Hughes. Dustin is joining us via Zoom all the way in Boston. How was the traffic getting there? I couldn't hear Lisa, so I have no idea what's going on there.
No, it wasn't bad. I got out early enough. It was good. It was good.
Okay. You made it home in time. That's great.
I know.
Just to reiterate what Sharon said, we are only on until 7 o'clock tonight, but that means that we have to just be on purpose and on task. So why don't we just jump right into our conversation? So I know we're talking about do's and don'ts. Does anybody want to discuss where they want to start first?
Well, maybe talk about submitting when you're submitting an offer. I mean, you guys went through the 24 offers yesterday. So there's things that probably stick out to you as, wow, this is really good, or no, this is kind of bad. So what were some of the things that you were seeing?
We could even start before we get to the contents of the offers. And I would say first, most important, please read all instructions, including in the listing. Please.
I feel like we're giving what is that called? A PSA to real estate agents when we say that, because that's really what it is. I mean, buyers don't necessarily have the information at the tip of their fingers when we're saying read all instructions. I think one of the things that we put directly right there in MLS was there are no interior photos, period. We don't have any. There's none. And I know that was a call that everybody was getting pretty much all week, right? Mm-hmm. Are there interior photos? Nope, still don't have them. Yep, they're not coming. So I think that's one of the things that you're talking about when you're saying read all instructions. Make sure to thoroughly read these descriptions.
Yes, right? Yes. You're doing yourself a favor and saving yourself time.
Yeah, it's a phone call not wasted.
Yes.
Yeah, not every listing has, offer instructions. We just knew that there was going to be sort of a storm with this one. So we were actually going to put it on the market the week before, but we decided to wait. We had 2 other listings going on the previous week. So we just knew that all of the listings were going to be pretty active. So we are sort of grateful that we waited the week, because we ended up having 127 showings on that property with 24 offers. And, we allowed people 6 days to view the property, which is sort of unheard of right now in this market. I'm sorry? And unfair, yeah. So we just wanted to make it as fair as possible. And I felt like we did, because we ended up getting 24 buyers who really, really wanted the property. But of course, we can only choose one.
Don't you wish you had a house for them all?
So, yeah, well, I'm glad that we didn't represent all 24 people. But Dustin had to make the hard decision today and sort of go through the order of all the people that came through and had to make the hard
There were a few comments in the sense like, oh, sorry, you have to do this and reach out to all these people. And I would much rather have to reach out to all the agents 23 times than have to reach out to the client once, because so many of them were just so vested and have repeatedly been coming up short that the agent hears no and there's an audible like, oh no, I cannot go back to them again with this news.
Yeah. But like I said, with our listing, we decided to do the offer deadline, 6 days after we put it on the market to give people enough, time. Some people even saw the property more than once, and that's actually the offer that our client ended up choosing. They had seen the property more than once, so it was good. They sort of knew what they were getting into, and they came in with a strong offer, and they were pretty confident in that. And I'm sure, Sharon gave the great news this morning. I'm sure the buyer is really happy. But, like I said, not every property does offer deadlines and, with all these guidelines. So we wanted to make sure that, all documents were submitted. It was everybody's, best and final. We wanted everybody to put their best foot forward because we knew that there was going to be a lot of offers coming in. So, you wanted to be able to stand out in the crowd. But, you want to pay attention to all those things. So if you had 6 days to write an offer and submit it, there's no reason to submit an offer after the deadline. But not everybody listens.
I thought that was one of the frustrating aspects of this whole thing was I felt like we were being so generous with our timeline and allowing showings for 6 days when we had, Trish Flynn came in the office the other day and she was so upset because a new listing came on the market. Her and Nick are working with a ton of different buyers, like 7, 8, 10 buyers right now. And a new listing came on the market and literally the agent allotted 2 hours for all the showings. It just doesn't seem realistic that people can do that. But I felt like some of the agents that were calling us, I was actually sort of surprised at the questions. Like you had said earlier, we were so specific. We had everything right there in MLS, but this market sort of makes me a little nervous that people need to slow down a little bit and realize you're representing clients and buyers, and your fiduciary responsibility is to them. So don't worry about getting on to the next one. Just work on the one that you are dealing with.
I think it's that could be a little bit of, buyers agents being exhausted, fear, and just speaking to the product of the environment that we're in. That your buyers text you a house, they're worried that their buyers are going to go through Zillow and try and get to the listing agent faster than they can, or that by the time that their buyer is sending it to them, it's already going to be gone. And they're just reacting to the actual listing being online versus reading everything and kind of going through it. So they could have probably saved themselves a lot of trouble by reading. But I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it's an anxiety-ridden market, even for
I think that's true. And if you want to give a benefit of the doubt or maybe think of it from a different angle, is that there is so much pressure to perform, and you have to be at such a high level with what you're offering that maybe they are seeing and they're like, you know what, this is big. I'm going to call, make sure I'm not missing anything, make sure nothing or no information is being shared, and just covering all the bases. And I mean, it's obviously redundant for us when we're now doing it for 150 people, but for them, this is their one time. This is the one offer their client wants.
Absolutely.
So, Mary, why don't we take turns asking Melissa and Dustin different questions as well, because they were really dissecting these. And they did such an awesome job putting all of this together, keeping it all organized, checking all the different email accounts that we have to make sure that we're getting all of the offers. So one of my questions was in regard to, I forgot what it was already. So it was in regard.
It goes in and it comes out.
It really does. It's so bad. But with timeline, I guess we'll talk a little bit about timeline. Were you surprised about, I mean, how many people did we have that actually tried to surpass the timeline that we had given and that we had been instructed by our seller client to hold all offers?
We only had one agent want their offer reviewed before the timeline. Is that what your question is? Yeah, we only had one, and we were instructed by the seller to hold all offers, and we said that, and we can only say it as many times as we can in the one language that we know how to say it. So, we only got one. Everybody else actually hit the offer deadline or even extended it by a day. So, they either let them be good until today or even tomorrow. So, we just had the one agent,
which I felt like people were patient with us. And through this process, like we had so many agents that were like, hey, I'm sure that you guys are still putting things together. That was really interesting. In fact, we actually have a couple agents submitted offers and they listened to our show. So hello to the agents who told me that you listen to us every Tuesday night here on WATD. We're happy that. We're happy that you do listen to our show, and if you ever want to think about joining our office, why don't you give us a ring-a-ling? But I think that it was good that it was only one person, but when we did discuss the offers with our client, I told our client exactly what had happened, and I think that sort of put a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, at the end of the day, it wasn't very much a contender.
Yeah.
So, we just say thank you and move on.
Yeah.
But I also think that although the property is a great property and the potential is there, I don't necessarily think that we probably would have gotten 24 offers had we only allowed for showings for 2 hours or 2 days. It's because we allowed people to get in there for 6 days and had 127 showings that we were able to do that. So that's why, when we see, no showings until open house, these are the only times that you can come in, like we sort of question, is it the agent requiring that, or is it the seller? And if it's the seller, our sort of suggestion would be let people see your house. I mean, you're selling it, and you want offers to come in, and offers aren't going to come in if nobody is able to see it. In that 8 hour or in those 2 hours that Trish was telling us about, there was only 8 slots. So what if 8 people came through, didn't like the house, and didn't put in an offer? Now you have to wait another week because you will only do an open house.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Strange.
I mean, think about that. We had 127 showings and really only 24 offers. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what that percentage is if somebody's good at having a calculator on hand.
Less than 25%.
Yeah. So, I mean, that tells
Less
you.
than 20%.
Yeah. That tells you that, everybody isn't going to put in an offer no matter how many showings you have. I feel really bad for the people that live on the street, though. I really think we should. I liked the idea.
Don't give away the idea.
Okay, we won't, but I think we should do it.
I also think that if the showings weren't back to back, people wouldn't have seen other people at the house. And sometimes that sort of steers people away from putting in an offer because they feel as though it is going to be a competitive house and they might not have a chance. So, but there's so many factors to it. And I always tell people this about open house times, like there's no exact science. Like if people want the house, they'll come. So,
yep. Do you have a question for them?
I was just curious because so you guys were so specific about putting in offer instructions, essentially saying this is what the package needs to consist of in order for it to be considered a complete package. Did you find that you had to go back to people requesting more information or additional information like pre-approvals? Because sometimes that happens where agents rush to get it in, that a pre-approval isn't coming along with it, or the lead paint or anything.
I think only 2 agents hadn't submitted their pre-approvals. Every time an offer came in, and we also, part of the offer deadline, offer guidelines were to send it to our team email that all of us have access to. But I was primarily the person to open them along with Dustin, and we would just respond to them just saying that we received it. But we would just look to make sure that everything that we needed was in it. We weren't like dissecting the offers as they were coming in, just making sure we had complete packages. There was one agent that I had reached out to and said that, she had forgotten something, and she didn't realize that she had forgotten it. So, but she was able to get it in before the offer deadline. So I really only think 2 agents. And I also got a lot of positive feedback from agents saying that they really liked the guidelines because they were able to submit complete packages and make it well aware to their buyer, you need a pre-approval in order to do this. Like, this is what you need to do. You need to sign this in a timely fashion. You need to, actually show up to your, you might only have one opportunity to see the house, or maybe 2, so if anybody wants to see the house, bring them now. So I think that it sort of forced agents to have that open communication with their client to make sure that they were all on top of everything.
That was actually a good point too, because I know that a lot of agents are feeling not frustrations, but it's, they're giving advice to their clients and saying, you should have your pre-approval letter beforehand. You should have all these, get all this together, because when that one comes up, you really have to be ready and prepared to do it. And if you don't have your pre-approval letter, then you might miss out on the opportunity. So with us, I think it was fortunate for a lot of the buyer clients that they had time to sort of get everything in order. So we had a bunch of showings at the beginning of the week, and then it sort of trickled down as the week went on. So but we got the majority of the offers in the last 2 days.
Yeah, I think I had told Dustin on Friday before he left, I said, be on standby all weekend, because
get ready.
I'll be here all weekend after the open houses. Mary and I did open houses this weekend at 780 Center Street, our new listing. It's actually Mary's sister's house here in Pembroke. So, came here after and sort of just made sure that we were on top of everything. So I think it definitely helped for Monday morning, sort of doing all of our cover sheets and our big spreadsheet to make sure that everything was printed out and organized. And then we pass it on, and Sharon gets to deliver the hefty news of 24 offers and go through all those with the clients. And we were here till 9:00 last night. So
I actually did talk to the client today, because he had to sign obviously some documents today, but I thought that it was really nice what he had to say. So I'll read it to you guys so you can hear it as well. So he said he just signed some stuff. Let me just see where he said, okay, thanks, Sharon. When I asked him to do something, sign some stuff. And he said, thought you had a very comprehensive presentation last night. So I thought that was nice, because I think keeping everything organized, like I said, you guys did a really good job of keeping it organized, because during the process too, there were some agents that were changing and making adjustments and going back and forth a little bit. So trying to stay on track with that was important.
Yeah, and I think the other agents did a pretty good job with following up, just making sure, like, just want to make sure that you got, my offer. If we didn't respond in the 20 minutes, then they sent the offer, which was good. But we were able to get back to everybody and get those over. There was something that I was going to say when you were talking, but I can't remember what it was. I know we talk about love letters here. I was actually pretty surprised. Like, out of 24 offers, I think 20 of them had love letters. So we sort of, Sharon let me read the love letter that they ended up choosing to the client last night. So, but I didn't even read any of that. I think I read 2 of them, and I love to read them. And I was like, there's just too many. I can't follow many people. So I'll read whoever gets chosen.
Then you were going to feel bad for all of them, right?
Yeah.
That
ones
also
that didn't
speaks
get
to
it.
the type of buyer that you had too. It wasn't the investor buyer. It was somebody who was looking to make that their family home, right?
Yeah, that was a factor that was important to the seller is that it was his family's home and he wants it to be somebody else's home. They make it their own. So I think that's who I think that's what they're going to do. The people who chose.
Again, to our WATD listeners, you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable with the McNamara broker team here at Boston Connect Real Estate. We are servicing the South Shore, so we are your real estate source from Boston. We are certainly connecting Boston to the South Shore for real right now. So a lot of people coming out this way right now. We have Dustin Hughes, who is in Boston, and we have Mary Baker and Melissa Wallace in home studio with me right now. If you have any questions, please call Ben. He is at the WATD studio in Marshfield, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. So you can ask us any question about real estate. Doesn't have to necessarily be what we're talking about. We're just, we thought we have a short show, so we're going to go over the don'ts of, real estate when you are submitting an offer in a multiple offer situation. And hopefully we're not beating a dead horse here because we talk about it every week.
Well, it's so I was thinking about it earlier and I was like, okay, so let's do kind of like a synopsis of what went on with us this past weekend or how we left everybody off last Tuesday, kind of setting ourselves up to say, all right, this is the culmination of what happened when we listed 68 Beechwood Road, right? But then another point that was brought up yesterday, and this is really where the don'ts came from, is things not to do once you're under contract with a buyer, with whether you're a buyer or a seller. Mainly ours derived to buyers, or ours are directed towards buyers. But what you shouldn't be doing after you've signed an offer or after you've gone through your home inspection or signed your purchase and sales agreement, there are lots of do's and don'ts. These we had a few that we just wanted to mention, right?
Yeah, we can jump onto that. Go ahead. I don't know.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say about 68 Beechwood though? Because it was all consuming. I feel like that name. Dustin got a phone call on another listing today. What are you talking about? This isn't about 68 Beechwood Road? I don't understand.
I know we did field so many questions on that one, but it was good.
I did have a random.
It was nice actually to get the opportunity to talk to so many agents.
Yeah.
Totally.
Nobody called me.
Are you trying to get us, Ben?
I did. I didn't want to interrupt that you guys were rocking and rolling, but I had a rando question for you just because it came up in conversation earlier with someone. I did a little voting earlier today, and I wasn't really sure where I was going, but I ended up talking with someone. We walked into the same place together. It worked out, but one of our comments was interesting to me. We were walking by, we commented, but there's a lot of people at the entrance of this place. It's just one of the schools over in Weymouth. And she said, I would never buy a place anywhere near a school for that reason. And I said, really? That's interesting. I got to remember this and ask Sharon and the girls about it.
Yeah,
and Dustin. No disrespect, Dustin.
Concept. Well, I think that, you know what, when you have voting, that's one day of,
every once in a while.
Yeah. How often are there votes going on?
Thought,
a couple times a year, maybe. But I think that you would be okay with living near a school. Well, you would be okay with the voting if you were okay living by a school, because maybe somebody might not choose to live by a school because they don't want buses going by and people dropping off every day.
Yeah.
The voting thing is like it's 2 times a year.
Right.
But I guess that they weren't thinking about that aspect of it.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual train of thought on the comment was, but it seemed like of all the things to pick, like you just said, it's like what, once, twice, maybe every 4 years?
You're exactly right. It's somebody who isn't looking to be nearby a school or that doesn't appeal to them. If they're going to completely disregard the house, they're disregarding it not because of voting season.
Right. Maybe they should have thought of moving to Idaho or something.
Yeah, I've never, of all the buyers I've worked with, that has never been the deterrent. I should say.
I thought it was interesting.
It was, and they just never said it out loud. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. It's just interesting. Of all the things somebody could have clung to, like that was the one. That was the winning ticket.
No, I think it's just great that somebody actually found the energy to talk while they were in line, because I think, remember when we first put the masks on, it's almost like our lips were shut. Like no one talked to anybody anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people are talking all over the place with these masks on.
Yep.
Yeah, people, at least it's nice that you had a conversation while you were in line.
It's like second.
Right. Oh, we weren't even really in line yet, honestly. We were actually walking. The usual entrance of the place where you usually go in wasn't open, so I just saw people walking around back. And I said, hey, are you going to the same way? You go, okay, cool, we'll go that way. So I initiated the conversation. But you're right. She opened right up right afterwards and started chipping away. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, nice to make a new friend randomly.
You should have said, you know what? Why don't you listen to the girls tonight on Talk Real Estate Roundtable, and we'll have a discussion about that.
We'll ask the question.
How many people care about that?
Right.
But, that is something, too. Certain people want to be close to the school because then the kids can walk to school and things. I guess it really all matters, where you are and what you're doing and what chapter of life you're in. But if you don't have children, I doubt that you would want to be right near a school, right? You know what I mean? So
totally.
you have that constant kids in the playground and all that other stuff. But so back to 68 Beechwood, when it comes to the offers and everything, and we will talk about some of your do's and don'ts.
Just don'ts.
Yeah,
no
don'ts.
Do's.
Your don'ts after you do have something accepted. But one of the things that was really difficult in the way when you have 24 offers, how do you go through all the offers? And I started talking to some of the agents in our office today about it. So the nice spreadsheets that Melissa and Dustin put together for us, what we did is we did a Zoom meeting with our client last night. He's actually in Ohio, so we Zoomed, and we went through every single offer in the order that they arrived. And then what I said to him, tell me what is your importance level. We have 24 offers here.
What's most important to you?
Exactly.
What are you looking for?
So the first thing he said was, are there any that didn't have any home inspections, right? Because that would make that whole process a little bit easier. So we went through the ones that didn't have a home inspection. He asked about financing. So we went through the ones that had financing. So unfortunately, this home was not a home that would probably withstand an appraisal through the FHA or VA process. We love our veterans. I promise you that. We're not agents that shy away from that type of loan. We just know that it wouldn't pass that type of inspection. So we're able to, and when you have to start somewhere, you start somewhere, cross enough. But that's one of the important things for buyers too, is if you do have FHA or VA, that's great. Go with it if that's the one that's going to work for you. But you should also have a backup, just in case you get to the house that has peeling, chipping paint or railings missing or something like that that's going to be flagged. Then maybe you can switch over to conventional, right? So have a backup plan for the type of loan option you're going to go for. So we sort of just went through the list and sort of minimized everything. And then we came to one and we were like, oh, this one's great. And then that person wasn't putting a lot down for financing. So we were like, all right, well, we'll call the agent. So we did this beforehand and we called the agent just, hey, is there any chance that your client can put more down at purchase and sales agreement? Just when we get to this time with our seller, we just want to tell him if they can or can't. But then it came up in conversation that they actually had a house to sell. And it was not contingent upon a sale. So it was good that we made that conversation, had that conversation, you know what I mean? So I just think making sure that you're very thorough in your offers, because that's a very dangerous situation for a buyer to sort of be in potentially.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It was kind of surprising, but I feel like, sorry, Dustin, I feel like sometimes agents in general, they're not trying to be deceitful. It's trying to shine the best light on their clients, and by doing that, they can unintentionally be putting their clients in a not so great position.
Yep. What were you going to say, Dustin?
I was just going to say something like that's going to come up, and I think the only thing worse than not getting the offer is getting it and then having it fall through because you didn't really disclose all the information.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So one of the other things, I was going to say something else. Why don't we talk about the don'ts? Because we have a short show tonight. So we have 10 more minutes left until 7:00. And if you have any questions for us regarding real estate, please feel free to give our friend Ben a call. I almost said our buddy Ben.
Our buddy Ben.
Our buddy Ben at the studio, 781-837-4900. Unfortunately, we weren't able to connect via Facebook tonight, so you just have us via WATD, but that's what's most important anyways. So we are live on the air, 781-837-4900. And go ahead, Mary, take it from here. Some of the things that you were going to suggest. Yeah.
Well, so any loan officer is going to tell you this, and I think we've talked about this probably in a first-time home buyer setting. Don't open any new lines of credit. Once you get your offer accepted, don't start putting up all your cash that you've saved up into the bank. Don't open up a new credit card. Don't go buy a car. That's not really our forte. That's not what we're responsible in the real estate transaction for. But it can't hurt to say, right? So don't do any of that stuff. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then this was what actually triggered the topic of conversation yesterday so we have a signed offer. We've gone through home inspection. We've even gone to the point of signing purchase and sales agreement and having an appraisal on a property. And then we get a phone call from somebody else who also wants to appraise the property. So what does that signify to us? If we have already had an appraisal on a property, this is one of our listings that we have under agreement. If we've already had the appraisal last week, and then somebody calls us this week and wants to appraise it, a different person, what does that mean?
So one of the things I was thinking of was, did something happen with the first appraisal? Was there an issue and they appealed it and tried to get another one? Or did the buyer client end up changing their financing and didn't inform us beforehand? And
why is that such a big deal?
Yeah. So I ended up calling the agent just to say, just a little confused because I see that there's another appraisal that was set up. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, I was
nonchalantly.
Like,
yeah. Sorry about that. Didn't tell you? I slipped my mind.
I know. And it's you don't think it's a big deal because you certainly do want the buyers to be able to get the best rate. And the buyer her client was able to get a better rate with a different company, a different mortgage company. And I think that that's fantastic. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is you've now changed and manipulated your offer to purchase, which is what the seller agreed to. And that was with your pre-approval letter with the bank that you were going to use. So now that you've decided midstream to just change your loan officer, your company, you've changed the terms of your accepted offer. So it really puts the buyer in a weird position. I actually called Emmanuel on it, who's the attorney for the seller. And he said, I am 100% sure that they didn't tell their attorney because their attorney would have told them that they basically have compromised their mortgage contingency by making a change. So if it doesn't go through, that means that they potentially could lose their deposit, which is a really bad place to be. So you're much better off asking and getting these answers beforehand. Don't just assume that it's okay. Everybody, whether it's, if you're the buyer and we're on the listing side, we really want the best for you as well. We just want to make sure that everybody is on the same table and on the same track. And we don't want you to compromise your deposit ever, because the last thing in the world we would ever want is for someone to lose their deposit, whether they work for us directly or if they're buying one of our listings. So at any rate, we're fine with you changing. I just hope that it goes through.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we were talking about a little bit yesterday. Was it would be fun. It would be better if the buyer were to say, or whomever on the buyer side say, hey, listen, we didn't, because the market is so fast paced, we didn't actually have an opportunity to shop rates the way we really would have wanted to prior to getting this under contract. And we just heard from a family friend, they referred us to a bank, they can give us a better rate. It's not going to change the terms of our loan. We can still qualify for the same thing, but we will have to kind of start the process from the beginning. And that at least could have been negotiated through the attorneys to a point where the seller had an option, but because the seller didn't have an option, that's what really compromises the mortgage contingency, right? So Yeah,
And two, I mean, you can't just change dates. You know what I mean? The commitment letter date is in the purchase and sales agreement. So
so the commitment is getting extended.
Well, that's only
Potentially.
It could, but I mean, we don't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're only asking for an extension because you changed banks. We didn't ask you to change banks, and we didn't tell you to change banks. You decided to change banks. So that's where the compromising your pure purchase and sales agreement comes in.
Gotcha.
So if they don't get their commitment letter, they've already broken that mortgage contingency and could lose their.
So that's why it's so important. I don't think buyers probably realize that.
Oh no,
that was the point. We were like, we need to talk about this, right? Because there's so many different nuances with it. It's not just as cut and dry as I want to get a better rate.
Absolutely. Do you guys, Mel, Dustin, anything that you want to jump into the roundtable about?
It's just one of those overarching life themes. If you just communicate and let everyone know where you're at, you'll be okay. You'll probably be able to get what you want or make these changes. It's just a matter of letting people know.
So maybe your do will be do over communicate always. Over communicate always.
Yeah, if you're going to make drastic changes to something you signed a contract about.
I wish everybody could see your face.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Mel, any input on your thoughts on that? I mean, you see everything that's going on with the agents and things like that.
I don't have anything to add about that. I would say a don't of mine would be to don't waive your home inspection and then think that you can bring in a bunch of people.
Oh, that's a good one.
Look through the house. If the listing agent is well versed in something like that happening, they typically won't let you back into the house until after a signed purchase and sales agreement if you waived your home inspection, because some people right now are waiving their home inspections but still bringing people in, just for measuring.
For informational purposes only.
Yeah, and if you put in that your home inspection is for informational purposes only, we just laugh at that because you've wasted time typing that. Because
what did our client say about it last night? And it was so funny. We're like, wow, that's just perfect.
How is that different? What's the difference?
How is it different than any other inspection?
Yeah.
Oh, great one, because it's not. Every inspection is for your own information. And whether you choose or not to accept it.
It was the way he said it too. He's like, so what? Like, it was just like, it's an inspection. Yeah. And the other thing too, Mel, is when we're noticing about the purchase and sales agreement and you're saying, we used to be like, okay, you're not doing it until after the purchase and sales agreement. We're basically saying no completely right now until commitment is in. And the reason being is, remember, we had probably 4 weeks ago, we had Steve Cook on, and he said that he had done an inspection for somebody. It didn't go well, and he had already signed purchase and sales, and this was for informational purposes only. And then he literally said to Steve, I'm just going to go out and buy something very expensive, and then I won't get the mortgage, and my mortgage contingency will basically get me out and get my money back.
That's still crazy.
That is so crazy that people can be that, you know what I mean, manipulative to think about things like that. But I feel like desperate people do desperate things in desperate times.
I'd be afraid. I'd be like, what if it doesn't work out? Is that fraud? Is the IRS going to come after me? Is the FBI?
But desperate people do desperate things in desperate times. Yeah. And I just feel like that's the frenzy. Remember, we had a caller a couple weeks ago and he called it a frenzy, and I just love it. It's just the frenzy of what's going on out there right now. And the buyers, I feel bad for them. 127 showings. That means there's 127 buyers just in this little area looking for a house. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, right now is the time. And we promise you that the McNamara broker team will get you 127 people through the door and hopefully 24 offers.
List price depending.
Yes, exactly. So Ben, how are we doing on time?
We got about 3 minutes left.
Okay, perfect. So we don't have much time left. Mel, do you want to let everybody know about how people can hear our past shows and everything? I did do some updates on our podcast this week, and I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, you can go to talkrealestateroundtable.com, listen to any of our past shows. You can go to bostonconnect.com. You can look for us, Talk Real Estate Roundtable, on your podcast app, iTunes, Spotify. You can follow us on social media, McNamara Broker Team and Boston Connect Real Estate. You can find all of our contact information at sorry. They have you just got me off the rails here. Yeah, you can find all of our contact information at bostonconnect.com. You can call me here at the office, 781-826-8000, and I can connect you to anybody that you want to talk to here. We do have a new listing coming on in Pembroke, but we aren't going to reveal too much, so you got to follow us on social media. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be posting something about our new listing here in Pembroke.
Yes, it's a very big house. It's going great neighborhood, going on the market for $619,900. It has a swimming pool, and I know that's what everybody wants right now because of COVID.
Yeah, because it was really, really hot this summer.
It was. I hope we have every summer.
Like this summer?
Sounds just, yeah, I hope it's just like this. From my lips to God's ears.
I'm going to need an outdoor shower then because...
Yeah, well, I know a plumber, the McNamara
Nothing but
plumbing.
sun this weekend.
Oh, that's great. So we will be doing some open houses this weekend, or I will be doing an open house at our new listing. And again, we will give you that address. Mel will be posting something as a coming soon on Facebook. So make sure that you follow us on social media. And that's the McNamara Broker team. And you'll be sure to find everything that's going on with us and our team. And you can go to Boston Connect Real Estate page as well and find everything. BostonConnect.com to see all of our contact information. Dustin, anything you want to share before we sign off here? It was a quick show.
Quick one. I'll see you next week.
All right. Perfect. All right, everybody. Well, we will see you next week. And until then, be safe. And if you need anything real estate, give us a buzz, 781-826-8000. Bye, Ben.
Don't forget to say bye to your dad.
Oh, bye, Dad. Love you. And say bye to Mom.
Bye, Mom.